5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We are now in the cut.
Welcome to the Open Cut.
Yeah, it's the Open Cut podcast. It's Sunday, June 2nd, the day after the UFC Stockholm, Sweden card. So we're going to get started there. Just yesterday, UFC had an event in Stockholm. All the fighters made weight, but there was an injury the week of fight week. Ilir Latifi dropped out with a back injury, so we did not get to see the co-main event against Volkan Oezdemir. Outside of that, the main card was all right.
Yeah.
It was headlined by Alexander Gustafsson and Anthony Smith. Anything in the prelims you saw you want to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, there were some good prelims that popped off. We talked about it. First fight, there was a lightweight fight there with Yoel Alvarez. I was kind of impressed because that dude was 6'3", fighting at 155. Lot of pressure, a lot of leg cuts. Yeah, that's huge. Paul Felder even said, he goes, I have no idea how that guy at 6'3"
not healthy.
cut. No. But he looked great. A lot of good shots, a lot of good leg kicks. I was impressed for a guy that that's lower on the rankings coming in. He almost got put into a triangle in the end of the first, and I'm like, okay, well, if this guy gets on the ground, we got a problem. But Bellarado, I just do not think put out the volume. So big TKO later, elbows and punches, which I liked. Besides that, I mean, there was a lot of fights that, to me, they matched up exactly what happened. Nick Hine, he did put in his retirement that night after his loss. That dude took a shit ton of shots. And, I mean, ate them well, but I just caught up.
Frank Camacho finished him.
Yeah, and Frank and Nick Hine were kind of in the same situation. They both had some losses here. They, really weren't doing anything damaging in that, division. Both of them have been around a little bit. Camacho was throwing body kicks over and over again and just taking the air out of Nick Hine. So I liked a lot of that. Camacho needed the win after 2 losses, and Nick Hine definitely needed a win, but that was his 3rd in a row, and apparently he decided that he wanted to put the gloves up after that night.
Anything else on this prelims? Noteworthy?
Yeah, Stevie Ray got knocked the fuck out by Leonardo Santos. I mean, he waited and just landed that overhand right and just took took him off the grid. I mean, it was badass. I mean, Stevie Ray I followed. I mean, I liked him. The Tanya Everton fight we talked about, it was kind of boring. There was no real shockers on the prelim, but a lot of good fights. Bilo Malika got another sub win. Besides that, everything kind of fell in line to me. So, I mean, it was a good prelim, but nothing that was really worth, saying that this is, unreal start to the night.
Bea, was she on the most recent season?
She was.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. She's kind of the half model, half fighter, but she's damn good, man. I mean, she took a lot of control. She took care of a really tough opponent. So, yeah, she's probably going to keep doing this thing that she's doing right now, which is looks and play.
That fight, she also is fighting at bantamweight, not featherweight, right?
Yep, she's fighting at bantam. She's a big girl.
The featherweight edition of The Ultimate Fighter, but is fighting at bantamweight once she got into
the
UFC.
Heavy hitter season.
Right. Yep. So that's another thing where we thought we were going to get a lot more of these women into the UFC at the featherweight division, and most of them are not joining the featherweight division, so it's still struggling.
There's too much in the well right now to pull out for her in the bantam because it's obviously not a tough cut. She's obviously in the right size. She's a bigger girl. She's very athletic. And her ground game, just being able to grab that rear naked the way she did, I thought it was very impressive. And it's just another notch on her belt, too. I mean, it's good to see somebody from Ultimate Fighter come into the UFC and still getting wins in those weight classes. I mean, at 135, these are bigger girls. So it's not about the speed. It's not about, all the accuracy. She used her jiu-jitsu and made it happen.
Yeah, and that is something typical of the Ultimate Fighter. A lot of times fighters are on that show. I guess we'll see how it moves going forward because there may not be any more of them. But fighters who are fighting at a weight in the Ultimate Fighter, that weight is usually heavier than what they would typically fight at because they need to make that weight any given week.
Yeah.
They're fighting several times potentially throughout the course of that season, so they have to keep making the weight. It's not like you're getting down to the weight one time for a fight and then putting it back on. You got to be able to maintain it. So that's another reason why she was on the show at featherweight, but is now competing at bantamweight. The main card started out with Daniel Tamer and Sung Bin Jo.
Yeah.
This was Joe's first fight in the UFC.
Yeah, it was his debut. Big guy.
Tamer is winless so far in the UFC.
Yep.
To me, the first round of this fight was incredibly fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Tamer landing shots. Joe ended up getting taken down. He was on the bottom. But he was throwing up submission attempts a lot in that first round from the bottom. Tamer did a good job of getting out of them, but there was a lot of back in the fourth, even though Tamer won that round.
Yep.
And then from that point on, it just got less and less competitive.
Yeah, it definitely showed somebody that's been in the UFC for a while compared to a newbie coming in for his debut. Because I think Tamer did a great job of beating up the legs, keeping the distance, staying active. But yeah, like you said, first win after 3 losses in a row. I mean, that was kind of a make or break it win for Tamer.
He needed it big time.
He needed it. I mean, that's why he was very emotional
Good
at the end.
to do at home. Big win at home.
Big win at home. And I think the UFC played that right, putting somebody in that is a debuter. They're going to be coming in. And my problem with it is I don't think Joe took advantage of having his debut. He looked at round...
He's 9-0 coming in. None of his fights have ever gone the distance.
And look what happened.
Yeah.
And I mean, think about this also. That guy at the end of the second looked like he had no offense anymore, and then the third, all of it was gone. And his corner was screaming at him to get over there and be active, be aggressive. And I don't know if it was nerves. He had an adrenaline dump too early in the fight, but it kind of seemed like the game plan went out the window. And Tamer just said, okay, well, I'm just going to keep touching you up to get the points.
Yeah, what they're saying on the broadcast, and the corner was yelling at him in Korean. So there's some kind of someone's translating to the announcers from Korean to English, and some of the announcers' English isn't their first language. So, but what they were explaining is that it seemed as if Joe was preparing for a Muay Thai fight, and Daniel Tamer was not making it a Muay Thai fight. He was going for takedowns. It was a full-blown MMA fight. And, I mean, obviously...
Which is weird because Tamer attacked the shit out of the legs. So you would assume that Joe would be like, okay, this is a very Muay Thai style. Whether the kick or not is Muay Thai. Tamer threw a ton of low calf and inside leg kicks. So I would have thought he would have taken advantage of that and traded back and forth and tried to set up a shot. But he didn't.
The threat of the takedown. And I think that he wasn't expecting the threat of the takedown as much as it was there.
Yeah. And Tamer was
Tamer. I mean, he was using it when he wanted to. He was standing up and banging. He was throwing hard shots, but when he saw the opportunity to take him down, he took him down. He made the most of it.
Get the point when you can.
Yeah, this is a good one for Tamer. It's not a terrible loss for Joe. He's going to have an opportunity for sure to make a comeback. This is just, like we said, his first fight in the UFC. He was 9-0 coming into this.
Yeah.
Coming from the same organization that produced Korean Zombie and Korean Superboy.
And he's a big guy, man. I mean, I don't think this will all hurt him. Confidence.
Learning experience.
Yeah. I mean, any debut, you cannot assume that a guy's going to come in. Now, if he does something crazy, like Lando Venata when he came in and fought Tony Ferguson, almost shocked the world and knocked Tony Ferguson out when he was climbing the rankings. That's what they want to see in guys, and I think the adrenaline dump and possibly just the pressure being in the UFC that night kind of took over because Tamer just bought his time. But that was a good opener to the main card, I thought.
Yeah.
Even though it was a decision.
It was a good one. Second fight on the main card, another decision. Hadzovic and Giagos. Giagos landed some big shots starting in the second round.
And Hadzovic ate him and just kept moving.
That was the thing.
That guy...
He ate a lot of shots.
You talk about being tough as nails, and that guy just kept coming at him. He looked like Igor, man. His back was all swollen up.
You can see it on his face, too.
His face
like,
was
man,
But
this dude just lit me up.
Tooth and nails and just came after him. I mean, and that's the thing is if you're walking someone down, he knows, hey, look, I'm getting ate up. But if I'm walking a guy down, I'm looking like the presser. So, honestly, I don't know if you saw, but Christos got gassed in the middle of the second. And everybody was waiting for Damir to come back and basically make his run. But I think both these guys were such high-level tacticians that they had to wait for their shots. And even though Giannis was just throwing leather all day and Damir was just eating it, he was just like, what else can I throw at this guy? But both of them almost gassed each other out by the time the fight was over.
Oh, yeah, you could tell.
I mean, they threw so much in the bank
early. At the end of the second round, they both looked extremely, like they were
done.
beat.
But kept moving.
Yeah. I don't think Giagos was ever in danger.
No.
There was a time where he had
On his
Hadzovich's back, and he almost looked like he was going to get a choke, but he couldn't get anything out of it. The win went to Giagos by decision, and I think it's the proper decision. The main card started out with 2 decisions, and then it finished up with 3 finishes.
They were active, though. That's what I'm... trading.
Oh, yeah, this was not a slow fight.
There was not just on the ground rubbing over each other for 2 rounds straight. I mean, everybody was throwing hands, which I like.
Mm-hmm. The first of those 3 finishes that the card ended with, Makwan Amirkhani and Chris Fishgold. Amirkhani got the Anaconda choke in the second round. I'd say he was up on the scorecards going into that finish anyways. I loved the finish,
dude.
Both of those guys, just
they
spinning
like
around,
spinning.
Then Chris Fishgold pushing up, trying to stop Amirkhani, spinning around. I loved that submission.
When's the last time you've seen anybody in an anaconda or a head and neck choke, as I just call it? Basic is. Continue to fight it.
I haven't seen a full 360 in a long
They normally
time.
get locked up and panic.
This was several times full around.
Well, and the thing that worried me in that fight is, so just going back to last week, is Amirkhani was my bet into this fight, and I knew how dangerous he was on the ground. But if you watch that fight, Chris Fishgold put him in the submission to go into that submission. He
went for the guillotine.
He went for the guillotine. I'm like, fuck, I just got reversed on what's going to happen. Amirkhani waited, figured out how to get out of that, and then reversed it. And instantly, I think Fishgold goes, oh shit, I'm on the ground with somebody that's got something that he can get me in. And that's all it took. But Fishgold, man, he looked good. I thought...
Until he got kicked in the nuts.
Well, that's what I was just going to bring up. The problem in this fight is we had an accidental eye poke. That was a walk-in eye poke. Amirkhani did not throw a hand out and jab. At the same time, is Fishgold came in, front kick stabbing, went right into his nuts.
Clean in the nuts.
But it was all timing. Amirkhani was not throwing a low shot. It was the timing. Plus, Fishgold's shorter than him, which you would have thought he would have kept it higher, but he didn't. At the same time, I think Fishgold basically was right there on the significant shots, and then it took him taking that risk to go to the ground. And just like I said last week, Amirkhani has been working on his boxing. Doesn't mean that he lost that ground game, and that's exactly what showed, is him reversing that into that anaconda choke like that. But it was enjoyable to watch because both guys were basically showing their skills at the maximum level.
It was a good fight. It was competitive the whole time. Like we were saying, there was an edge to Amirkhani, I think, going into that final sequence, but Fishgold wasn't out of it. He had just come back from getting kicked in the nuts. He didn't. I mean, I know the ref was not. It was Mike Goddard.
Yeah.
He was not rushing him at all.
No.
But at the same time, I know you're gonna feel obligated to come back before you're 100%.
No one takes the 5 minutes.
Yeah, no one's gonna take the full time that they really need to. Regardless, he said he was good to go. They started fighting again. Amirkhani went for it. Fishgold went for the guillotine, and he went hard for the guillotine, and that's what ended up getting him into position to be on the wrong side of that choke.
Yep.
If he hadn't, and he'd have pushed him off instead, maybe it's a different outcome. I mean, it was a close fight. But I mean, props to Amirkhani. He got the finish. He fought through that.
He stayed calm. That's something that I noticed from when he came out. He was getting the crowd jacked up from being a local and all that. But the thing is I
liked his walkout a lot.
His walkout was nice. And I think, too, is he took a shit ton of low calf kicks. Every one he took from Fishgold, he just looked at him. He goes, I don't really care. When he knows it hurt like shit, he did not panic thinking that, like, I'm in with a new caliber guy. He played the game that he wanted to play. And I'm not saying because I guessed that he was going to get a sub. The past fights, like the Jason Knight fights, the other fights that he had in Stockholm a couple years ago with the flying knee. I mean, he even threw the flying knee out the gate just as a joke, but he was hoping it'd hit. The guy has the skills. He's got a lot of holes in his game, but at featherweight, just like everybody was saying on the broadcast, there is so much value in featherweight right now that guys like this that come in add so much new flavor because he can do a lot of things.
Featherweight's another deep division.
Yeah, Fishgold has a lot of wrestling. He has a lot of hands, but at the same time, you need guys that can change their game in a moment. And that's what I think Amirkhani waited and did. So I love that fight.
Yeah, I'd like to see him fight some tougher competition.
Some higher, yeah.
And see how well he does, because he definitely has pieces.
Do you know who
pieces of a strong game? Yeah, let's hear it.
I want him to fight Andre Fili. I know Fili's got a fight lined up.
He does.
Win or lose, Fili is very similar to Amirkhani, where he has been in the division a while. He's fought a lot of good guys. He's fought a lot of not bad guys, lower guys. And I think with that win that Amirkhani had, I think he could take a rip at somebody like Fili, even though Fili will be hoping to jump up a little bit. I think their styles would be interesting. Heavy leg kicks, long, lanky guys. They like doing tricky shit. I think that would be a fun fight. I just don't know if the timing will work out, since obviously Fili's got a fight coming in here in about 2 months. So
yeah, we'll see how that fight turns out.
Yeah, you got to see. But if Fili loses, he would fall right in line.
Amirkhani had some time off between his last fight.
That's all they talked about on the broadcast.
I mean, I'm not
year and a half almost?
He's going to want to come back right away, or if he's now thinking that it's good for him to take time off and to go pursue boxing ventures further.
It obviously worked out, taking a year to get your hands
maybe
right.
Off a pro boxing match. I mean, I think he's only done amateur till now.
It's not going to hurt.
Yeah. So the card was supposed to end with 3 consecutive light heavyweight bouts.
Yeah.
Was supposed to give us a little bit more clarity on who the next contenders are going to be and who they'd have to go through in the light heavyweight division. Like we said, the co-main event between Volkan Oezdemir and Ilir Latifi ended up getting scrapped because of a back injury to Ilir Latifi a couple days before the fight. We did get to see a co-main event that was still exciting, though. It didn't last very long, less than a minute, and Alexander Rakic put Jimmy Manua's lights out.
It's a dangerous man.
Jimmy Manua right now is on a losing skid. He's been struggling. His last win, I think, was against Corey Anderson, which is a good win, but
good win. But it's been a minute.
Yeah. Outside of that, to me, this fight is breathing life into the light heavyweight division. That's much needed. They're talking about on the broadcast how deep the light heavyweight division is. I'm not seeing it. I think it's a very old, very shallow division. It's very top heavy.
Oh yeah.
Especially with potentially Gustafsson gone, but
yeah,
we've got most of that division is older, towards the end of their career. But there are a couple new guys coming up. I mean, clearly Johnny Walker, if he makes a full recovery from his shoulder, was still.
Yeah, that's still.
I mean, he doesn't have a fight scheduled. We thought Dominic Reyes was going to be the next up and comer, but I honestly don't think he beat Volkan Oezdemir. But now Alexander Rakic is a third.
It's perfect.
So yeah, he's going to be following on the heels of first Volkan, who made the quick run up. This past year, it's been Lionheart and now Thiago Santos, who've been running up through the division. So this is another guy who's got an opportunity.
Yeah.
Who's new to most viewers. He's not fought any top competition yet. This is his first one, and he finished Jimmy Manua in devastating fashion. Yeah,
and it goes back to what we've said before: is Jimmy Manua is a big win. But he's also another win that we all are realistic. It's a 39-year-old man, like you said, in an older division of guys that he has been around. He has not fallen on hard times. He's fought some fucking tough guys, and it was his time to kind of peel away. Radek took that advantage, and again, this is a new Anthony Smith. This is a Thiago, like you said, and we got to keep refilling these guys because Glover Teixeira is not going to be around forever. Jimmy's probably not going to be around anymore after this.
He's going to be 40.
We're going to be talking about Gustafsson here in a little bit. We have got.
Ovens is old.
We got 4 or 5 spots. Well, in OSP right now after what happened last
Cormier is gone.
time.
He's not fighting light heavyweight again.
So we got 5, 6, 7 spots that are all able to be filled. Radek's going to be ranked after this. He's going to be probably 15, 14, 13 after this, which rightfully so. The thing that hurts in my mind is, yes, you knocked out Jimmy Manua, who's always dangerous. Everybody expected you to do that. You did that. Congratulations. Now we have to jump up your game next, which is fine because it's going to be a lights-out fight. This helps a lot, but it's not something that's blowing anyone's mind. This is not a Johnny Walker situation where it's like, this guy's knocking fucking everybody out.
But it could be soon.
It could be. Let's get one more fight in.
Let's see.
Let's talk about it.
KO, TKO, then 2 decisions, and then TKO, KO, TKO, TKO.
Well, but they're in non-UFC promotions.
Right.
So we got to remember
Since the UFC, he started out with 2 decisions, and since then he's had two first-round stoppages in his last 2 fights.
You know who I love?
You give him another first-round stoppage, and that is that same level as...
Well, here's what we can do. So he just took out Manawa, who was obviously ranked number 10. You got Johnny Walker, who's right under there at 12. Okay, we got the situation with Corey Anderson. We got Ilir Latifi with his back out. Let's either not throw him to the Wolves and give him somebody a little bit lower. Maybe give him even, Shogun or somebody else that's actually was ranked below Jimmy. Or do you throw him to the Wolves and see if he can prevail like what we saw with Santos, we saw with Smith? What do you think's the best route for somebody like this? Because this guy's young.
Yes. So I got 2 schools of thought here.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't know what the deal is with Johnny Walker. I don't know when his time frame is.
Nobody does.
He's talking about fighting like the top of the level guys next. I don't think he should. I think a fight between him and Rakic would be great. At the same time, you're potentially really hurting some momentum.
You're hurting the momentum.
Like one of those guys is not going to have the momentum anymore. So I think that fight would be incredibly fun to watch. I think on my side, I'd sign me up. The other fight I'm thinking could be made very soon. 2 Europeans, Volkan Oezdemir.
Why not now?
Supposed to fight this past weekend. Now he's looking for a quick turnaround because he's been in camp.
Yeah, he's fresh. He's ready.
Rakic was in the fight for less than a minute. He doesn't have anything to prepare for. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
To me, that is a great fight to make moving forward. I think you could make it soon. You could make it on a fight night. It could be another...
because this is what this was.
Right, another European fight night. To me, that's a fight that makes sense. You got two of the younger guys in the division. One's on the losing streak, one's on the winning streak, but they should both be ready to go. And that, I guess, in the light heavyweight division right now, I think that fight makes the most sense for Rakic.
Well, and we've seen so many of those exact fights where you have a guy that's been around the division a little bit with a newcomer that they line up. It's entertaining to people because people either want to see the underdog win or they want to see the guy prevail that's supposed to be in that division. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that's a wonderful choice. And honestly, if the timing of everybody works out, it sucks again. Ilir Latifi is fucking us again. And not his fault. It's not his fault at all. I just feel terrible because he was literally about to fight, Oezdemir, which was going to be a monster fight, and make a lot of changes in that division. And now we're back to square one again.
Yeah, the changes didn't happen, but
to
I
nobody's
think there are
fault.
still opportunities.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So we talked about Rakic. Let's go into Manua.
Yeah.
That was a devastating knockout. This is, if anyone didn't see, it was a 2-punch combo followed by a step-through head kick. And the head kick, as soon as it made contact, lights out, fell back, head bounced off the canvas.
Yeah, it was a Darren Till style.
And he didn't move for minutes. They came back from one commercial break. He was still laid out. The next commercial break, they assured us he was sitting on a stool. He is now 17-6, I believe, as a professional. He didn't start fighting until very late in his career, but later in life than most people. 17-6, his last 4 have been losses. So he was 17-2, now 17-6, coming off 4 losses. 3 of those were knockout losses. One to Volkan, one to Santos, and now to Rakic. But I think it's time maybe to call it quits.
Touching almost 40, and the thing is, when you're getting flatlined that much, and I hate to say it,
that's so old to be a fighter.
When you're getting flatlined in that division by Santos and Volkan, and then now we obviously have Radic that's doing it. That's a lot of damage that late in a career, which he had already been putting a lot of damage in. And like I said, I'm not here trying to tell somebody what to do in their career. I don't want to see anybody keep getting flatlined like that. I think it was beautiful by Radic how he almost used Manawa to use his own hand to come up and shield to protect his head. And right when he dropped it, the kick came in. It was beautiful play, but at the same time, we all got to be human, man. And Yeah, it's cool to see knockouts, but this is a guy that's been getting knocked out a lot within 2 years. It's just time. You're, like you said, almost 40. You've done a lot of things. Coming off 4 losses. I mean, the UFC is
fantastic that you made it to the UFC.
Yeah,
man.
no.
Fantastic, but I don't think that...
I don't think it's worth it.
In the light heavyweight division, there's a
not right now, because we just talked about it. We might have 6, 7 spots open up for guys that are under 30 years old that are all hungry as shit. And in that division right now, you want to keep the entertainment and you want to keep people following UFC. Get your lightweights in there where you got guys that are very well fit, that throw bombs like heavyweights, but they're fast. That is a division that you want to keep farming in. You do not want to let what has kind of happened here where you got guys 39, 40 years old fighting that division, because eventually, now you're the heavyweight division. Not everybody wants to see everybody at 40, 42, Mark Hunts.
Yeah, there are people who can fight high level at 40. Anderson Silva's fighting high level opponents. He's been losing.
That's a one out of...
DC's fighting high level opponents at 40. But yeah, we're talking 2 of the greatest guys ever there.
Yeah, we're...
I mean, that's Jimmy Manuwa is great, but he's nowhere near that level.
No, you have to also think, too, with these guys, is we have to make it to where it makes sense for both parties. I can't just line you up for a fight because you're a name anymore. Jimmy Manuwa was a good name there for a while and had some great wins. You know, Oven St. Preux. Him and St. Preux remind me a lot of the same thing. They have had some fun fights, but they've also had some fights that you're like, what the fuck happened? You know, it's just, in this division, you have so much power, so much speed, and everything can be decided in a blink of an eye that somebody like Jimmy is just not going to bring the reward here anymore. And himself, he does not need to get flatlined like that anymore, because trust me, now that he pulls down the rankings, if they stay, which the UFC is not going to, I'm sorry. They're not going to keep a guy in that weight division with four losses in a row.
Yeah, he's no longer going to be ranked.
He's going to fight guys even hungrier that are going to try to do anything and everything to win, just like Radish did. I don't think you want to have that continue every time Jimmy Manuwa fights. It's not good.
Yeah, I don't think that... I mean, I guess he could continue to fight and fight maybe newcomers, but he's nowhere near the top of the light heavyweight division anymore. Someone who is, though, is Anthony Smith.
Love you.
He fought Alexander Gustafsson this weekend. I would say Gustafsson won the 3rd round, and I think Anthony Smith won the first 2 and finished him in the 4th. Anthony Smith looks great. He's coming off that loss to John Jones. Pretty one-sided affair, but he did go the distance.
Which that's a feat in its own. And I've listened to a lot of people talk about, well, you made it with Jones, you survived, and, you know, Jones. Guys, that's a big thing. Is most of the time Jones is finishing you violently, or he's toying with you the entire time and battering you up to where even if you go to the decision, you can barely stand. Anthony Smith is exactly what he said. He is durable. He is tough as nails. And Anthony, I think, I was worried at the beginning of this because I know how dangerous Gustafsson is with his...
He's been one of the great light heavyweights.
And the thing that I know with Gustafsson is he uses his range. He pop shots you. He gets out of the way. You saw the entire fight. He's running around. He's moving. What I love to see is Anthony knew that. He wanted to cut him off. He wanted to move to him. I don't even want to be redundant like I always say that Anthony played his game. Anthony played the right game at the right night, and he waited. And guess what? That could have turned out opposite. Anthony could have got knocked out. Anthony could have been put in the same situation, but Anthony saw an opening, went in for that rear naked. And the thing that I loved is when he was on Gustafsson's back, he looked like he was too high, like we always say, and he was falling over. No, he reset himself.
He stayed on.
Got big shots underneath that definitely fucked Gustafsson enough.
Getting the finish.
Got him kind of where he's like, okay, I got to do something different.
Flattened him out.
And then pulled in that just out of nowhere and then flattened him out and it was over. And the thing about it is that's something that you want to see from a guy like Anthony Smith that loves the trade. He's got other gamuts to his game.
Yeah, I really just kept waiting for him to slide off of his back. There was time. It's the 4th round. They're so sweaty, there's no way he stays on. He's up way too high. He never slid off.
No.
He stayed on there.
That body triangle was
flattened
tight.
him out.
Yeah.
It was a good finish.
What about that
They
leg?
both had their moments, but Anthony Smith definitely landed the bigger shots. and he did better on the ground, and to me, he should be ranked now the number one contender again.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that I don't think his next shot or his next fight should be against John Jones.
No.
But I do think that he's probably one fight away from getting that rematch.
100%.
And I do think that he, as far as what he's shown, beating Gustafsson that way, the way he's made his way up the light heavyweight division, I think he's the top contender, and he needs another fight to get the rematch. But I think anyone else is looking up to him.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I think the other thing is Gustafsson usually gets finished if he loses two ways. He's knocked the fuck out or he goes the distance. To see him choke out Gustafsson that way, that is a huge win just for his entire game. And Anthony Smith couldn't have been more humble at the end of that. He's like, I just fought an absolute titan of this division and this sport in his own country. I feel terrible for him that I had to beat him. He goes, I feel terrible that one of us has to lose, but I know this is our sport, and that's what I have to do. And I mean, I had a lot of respect for Anthony, like I always have. That's why I followed him.
He's a great guy.
And I think that fight is one that both guys were kind of like, man, I don't want to do this, but we got to do it. And I honestly, I hate to say this, but Gustafsson going out and saying, if I lose to Anthony Smith, maybe I don't have it anymore. And it kind of sucked to hear that because he was kind of like, well, this guy shouldn't even be in my league. So if I lose to him, then I'm obviously letting things slip. And I'll tell you what, when Gustafsson walked out, his body, his mannerisms, everything looked different than what it is. He already seemed like he put his check in, he was waiting it to clear the bank. And I don't want to even think that he thinks that way. But afterwards, we know Gustafsson, he's not somebody that's going to sit there and give you a Nobel Prize speech. But he walked up there ripping his gloves off, and I just sat there and I looked, he goes, he's fucking retiring. He's done. And when he came in, he goes, show's over. And I mean, he kind of threw his gloves kind of disgustedly at himself, like, I just lost to my home country as my last fight ever, and I'm just going to retire. And this is not at all what I wanted.
That's the thing that I think he might fight again, because that's the shitty feeling to go out on.
It was a terrible feeling.
He was really, 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 really into fighting in Stockholm and not losing. And if he wants to retire and do other things, then
yeah, wonderful to him.
Man.
Yeah,
do it.
He's been around a long time.
But I think that getting those feelings immediately after that loss versus let's see 6 months from now,
balance a little bit.
So here's the deal: you're a long, long way from a title shot now.
Yeah,
you've lost to Jones twice. He's the title holder. You're not getting a rematch for him for a long time.
Yep.
You just lost to Anthony Smith. Yeah, you're going to need several more wins. But this has happened to him before. He lost to Jones, and then he lost to Rumble.
And
then he lost to Cormier. I mean, outside of that, he's been winning. But there's not right now. This is a big blow to any title shots.
Oh,
at the same time, he was talking about how he was done. Like he wasn't focused on the title. He was focused on putting damage in the light heavyweight division. And he still has that opportunity.
Yeah.
He was talking about how he wants to fight more often. He doesn't want to fight once a year. He wants to stay active. Put John Jones in his rear view. That's not his goal anymore. He just wants to do the best he can do. He still can do that.
At 31?
Yeah. He's young. He may have just turned 32. But either way, we're not talking about a 39-year-old Jimmy Manuwa. He's got several fights left if he wants them. I'd love to see him fight more. He's fantastic. For someone that big to move the way he does, it looks almost unnatural.
Yeah.
I hope he fights more, but it'd be tough to see him go. He's been at the top of the light heavyweight division for a long time. His fight with John Jones, the first fight, was one of the best fights I've ever watched. So I'd be sad to see him go. If he does, then good for him. My personal thinking right now is that he'll get an itch to fight later.
Yeah.
We'll see him fight again.
Emotions probably took over more than anything, which is understandable.
Plus, he might be a man of pride. It's tough at that level. But if you say, if I lose to this dude and I'm retiring, there's some people who are gonna stick behind that,
I think
man.
that's something it's tough to understand with Gustafsson, because I've watched him for a while, is he a lot of times believes in himself that he's better than other people that he's lost to, which is honorable because he's not arrogant about he's
only the best.
That's why he's always talking about, I know I can do this. It's like when DC and Jones were talking about, you're not fighting either of us. You're not even back to this caliber. We already beat you. It's me and Cormier. He's sitting there saying, guys, I'm playing in the same park and playing with the same tools as you are. It just didn't work my way every time. And that's the thing is, I think, like you say, losing Gustafsson in that division fucking would be terrible because there's no boring fights with him. He's always bringing in the action. Yes, he's a different style fighter. That's why he's where he's at. He's not a guy that comes in and wants to take your head off. He comes in and he finds the way. He beats you up. He wants to make you feel pain throughout the fights, and then once you can't take it anymore, he finishes you. The two guys he can't do that to, Daniel Cormier and John Jones.
Well, no,
Anthony
Smith
Smith
on that list, yeah.
And you're adding Anthony Smith now, which I have followed and loved, and I think he can continue to do giant things in that division. Doesn't mean that you have to completely fold the book and say, I'm done. But I agree with you. I think, to keep going on about it, we'll end it here with it, is he does not need to think that he needs to cash his career in right now, just because he lost at home to Anthony Smith.
No, if he doesn't want to do it anymore, that's one thing. But if he doesn't think he can still compete at the top of the light heavyweight division, I think he can. I think there's, like we were saying, I don't think light heavyweight division is that deep.
No.
He's not on the older end of it. He's right in the middle. So we'll see. And as far as Anthony Smith goes, I don't think he fights again this year. He's going to probably wait and play out or see how the light heavyweight division plays out for the rest of the year. He said he wants some family time.
Did you hear he broke his hand? And I thought so.
No, I didn't. But
so he threw a shot, and I saw him kind of wince, and I was like, I think he might have fucked his hand up. And sure as shit, he broke it because he threw everything in it. Which hand injuries you can come back through pretty quickly. So
that's just another reason to stick
It's another reason to sit out.
I don't think we'll see him fight again in 2019.
So, yeah, I think you let the Santos and Jones go in. You see what else pans out. And again...
And then you look for one fight that's going to set you up with a rematch with John. And it'll come up.
And a lot of things can change here.
It'll come up.
A Dominic Reyes fight doesn't seem to be great for Anthony Smith, but Anthony Smith could be a new gatekeeper.
Yeah, why not? I'd be signed up for that fight.
And here's another one, man. Luke Rockhold.
They have some beef going. Yeah.
If that happens, I would love to see Anthony Smith come on up here. So you beat Jan Blachowicz. That's cool. That's a pretty big win for your opening in this weight class. Hey, come up here and play with the big boys. Love to see it.
Yeah, I'd like to see that fight. So yeah, that was our UFC Stockholm card.
Not the greatest. Obviously had some very impactful endings to the game. I mean, we had 2 retirements that night, allegedly. Nick Hine and Gustafsson.
Like I said, maybe we'll see a third.
And we might see a third.
So yeah, that was the Saturday afternoon card.
Yep.
Since our last time speaking with you guys, there was a lot of fights that have been announced for the UFC Fight Night Sacramento card. Probably most notably, Uriah Faber's making his return against Ricky Simon.
Unbelievable.
It's been maybe 2 or 3 years since Uriah Faber's fought. But he's still, I would imagine he's still a draw. I don't know much about Ricky Simon. I don't know if they're setting him up. It looks like he was formerly ranked at bantamweight, so he is still at the top of the division. We'll see how Faber fares.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a toss-up to knowing what could happen. You have a guy that's actively in the UFC, and then you have a legend that's in the UFC Hall of Fame that, like many guys, retired, got the itch, wanted to come back. Uriah's last fight was knocking out Brad Pickett and able to win that on his retirement fight, and then that was it. And
that was after he fought Dominic Cruz?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you had Uriah that was in the trenches just fighting all the time to get back to that belt, and then retired, and then obviously did the alpha male thing, trading Cody, even TJ, Jimmy Manuwa, all these just bantamweight crazy animals.
Not Jimmy Manuwa.
Or not Manuwa, I'm sorry, Jimmy Rivera. Sorry, we got too many damn Jimmys. Yeah, if Jimmy Manuwa cut to bantam, we got a fucking problem. He's obviously got cancer. But no, the amount of just talent there, and he had Danny Castillo behind him. He had Buckles when he was there. So, I mean, he had a good thing going, but I think that itch that we always talk about came back. And I think also it's a classic example that no one talked about. He never pulled himself out of the USADA pool. What's that scream to you? I want to give myself a second opportunity.
Don't want to close the door.
And I think it's cool for Uriah, and I really hope that he comes back. I hope it's a monster fight, and I'll be honest with you, I don't want to see a knockout. I don't want to see a sub. I want to see both these guys go to war and go to a decision and say, you put your best in, you put your best in. Here's where we're at, because you got a guy that's fighting a legend like Uriah, and then you got Uriah that's fighting who has not actively been fighting in a ring against a up-and-comer. And I think that'd be really cool to say, hey guys, this is a lot of what used to happen. Guys will retire, come back, but this is how it's supposed to be. Not a BJ Penn situation. I just need a win.
Yeah, Ricky Simone's on an 8-fight winning streak,
Yeah.
three of which have been in the UFC. So
I think it's a wonderful promotion schedule, because
it'll be a
who's
tough
not
one for
going to
Faber to
watch
come
that?
back on.
No, it's absolutely tough, because Faber's no spring chicken either, but Faber was always one of those that was always in the cards. He's like a lot of guys. He was right there at the finish line, just didn't finish. That's really what it came down to.
a couple featherweight fights were also announced for that card.
SAC card's gotten big.
It's growing.
looking good.
It's coming together. One of those featherweight fights we already alluded to is Andre Fili. He's fighting Shaman Moraes. The other one, Josh Emmett's returning to fight Mirsad Berktic.
That's
so both
gonna be
of
a
those
very good
are
fight.
big fights for
Yep.
the featherweight division. Like we had talked.
That's two alpha male boys too fighting in featherweight, Josh and Andre. So that's a lot of camp in that fucking card.
Emmett's looking to make even more strides in his featherweight coming off that win. Fili is also coming off a win. Maybe with this, he's sniffing at getting ranked. So both of these fights are going to be big for the featherweight division, and then that night is going to be headlined by Aspen Ladd and Jermaine Durandamy.
Which I like. I mean, I know it's a girl headliner, but I think Aspen has put in the work. She's been doing the right things in her division, and obviously she's fighting a name like Randamy, and I think right after that, winner of that, right against Amanda Nunes next. I mean, why wouldn't they?
Yeah, it probably is at that point. It probably is.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we got Holly fighting Amanda, so we'll see what happens.
Aspen was supposed to fight Holly.
She was supposed to fight Holly. Weight cut didn't happen, so we'll see what happens. Obviously, Holly Amanda, I think I know probably what will happen.
Durandamy is a former champion in the UFC, so I think that the winner of this probably does get the next shot at Amanda Nunes. One other fight I definitely do want to mention, another chick fight that's just been announced, is Felicia Spencer and Chris Cyborg being added to the 240 card.
Just what we talked about, and it happened.
And it still seems too early for Felicia Spencer. I hope she did get more money for this fight. It makes sense for Cyborg. Her contract's coming up, and she only has one fight left on it, so she wanted to get that fight in before contract expired. Felicia Spencer won her debut against Megan Anderson. We talked about that last time. But that was her first fight in the UFC. And now she's fighting Chris Cyborg in Canada.
I guess you just
it's a big fight for her.
Yeah, I guess you just get to a point where you realize there's no other options. It's just, I want somebody to get out there and say, can we find some girls over 6 foot that can weigh 145 pounds, and let's get them in here, because this division is just fighting killers just to get in the gate. Oh, you made it in. Perfect. Boom. That's not good for a division. But, who knows? Maybe Felicia will do something crazy. Chris Cyborg went in, never being knocked out, and then had that. A lot of change could happen.
Mm-hmm. Another interesting development throughout the past week and a half or so is the amount of fighters that have been released from the UFC. At heavyweight, Justin Willis is released. There's a bunch of
speculation on all of it. There's nothing confirmed.
He's been released by the UFC. He's saying it's an understanding, miscommunication. He'll be fighting in August.
And he'll be back in August. Yeah, I don't understand.
I haven't heard anything from the UFC to support that.
No one's put anything out.
Outside of that, Elias Theodorou got cut.
A ranked fighter.
He's ranked. So Justin Willis, Elias Theodorou, Wilson Hayes, Eric Shelton, all ranked fighters that were cut in the past week. Or a week and a half. On top of that, Marcelo Gome was cut. Who else do we have? There's been several flyweights that have been cut. It really does look like they don't have enough flyweights to post rankings
what do they
anymore.
have? 12 or 13 ranked in there? Maybe there. And I mean, after this weekend, who knows what could happen?
Yeah, it's strange. It really is looking like they're getting rid of the flyweight division. I would expect for them to make these cuts following the fight coming up this next weekend between Henry Cejudo and Marlon Moraes. You'd think after you have a determination there, what's happening with Henry Cejudo, where the flyweight division is going, if it's worth keeping up. I'm not entirely sure what you value more. If Henry Cejudo wins at bantamweight, I guess you probably do just give up the flyweight division. But if he loses, you have this champion that's very remarkable in the UFC, Mexican American. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He beat Demetrius Johnson, one of the greatest fighters of all time. He beat TJ Dillashaw, one of the best fighters of all time. I think that he's still like a marketable champion, and if Marlon Moraes comes away with this win, you want to have a flyweight division that Henry Cejudo can be the champion of. So I guess the timing of this is the most surprising to me, because I would think you'd wait and see how the June 8th card plays out before you start just tearing away the flyweight division.
Here's something I've been thinking about on this flyweight division that is something that a lot of people may not talk about. Is these are people that fight in a weight class that a lot of people would never assume to
Can't even relate with. When was the last time you weighed 135
when I was
pounds?
10. Yeah. So we have a lot of attachment because there's people that at 125 pounds, weight cut or not, are doing spectacular things that on a normal person that weighs $170, they would make them look like a rag doll. We do not want to see that division get ripped away and we never see it again, because the last thing I'd want to do is talk to you in 2 years and go, man, remember when we used to watch flyweight divisions? How fun were those? How fast were those? We don't want to get to that conversation. Henry Cejudo has been doing a great job.
I'm going to interject.
Okay.
And say that I'd be fine with that conversation. And I would say that if you're a human male and you don't think you should be fighting at 135 pounds instead of 125 pounds, I'm fine with all of these guys fighting at 135 pounds. What's the point of fighting at 125 pounds or weighing in at 125 pounds before you fight? To me, it's a fight sport.
It's a hurting sport.
Yeah.
But do you think if DJ was still in the UFC right now and we moved him up to Bantam, do you think he would all do as well as he did at 125?
No, he's not going to do as well. I mean, he didn't do as well. He lost to Cruz at 135. Do I think he'd still be top of the food chain? Yes.
Oh, no, and I agree with that. What I'm saying is that is the problem, is we're used to what we're seeing. So guys moving from 125 up to Bantam because they have to, because they won't have a job, you're going to have a lot of guys getting fed to the wolves for no reason. The 125 is not making people want to see UFC. But for fans and for people like us that follow, is we want to see that around, because there has been some phenomenal 125 fights. Look at what's going on right now with Moraes and Henry. You got two guys out of two divisions, just like what we have with TJ, and you're continuing that battle, building these monster cards about a belt. That will phase out, but at the same time, I don't think we need to wipe the 125 overnight.
Yeah, like I said, I think that it would have been smart to wait on some of these cuts until after that fight to see where Henry Cejudo lies. But
it's scaring everybody to death.
I personally don't have an issue with scrapping the 125 division.
Yeah, just a personal thing is I think that I've seen it for so long and been so infatuated to see guys.
It hasn't been around that long. It's the newest men's division.
But guess what? What I'm worried about is we get rid of the flyweight. What's the next one we're going to have problems with? Women's featherweight. Are we going to decide all of a sudden that the women's featherweight, there's not enough people in there that can do well, that we're going to cut it to?
That's why we didn't have it 2 years ago. That's why there wasn't a women's featherweight division.
And that's
because
very true.
There's not enough girls that are doing it. PFL's got a women's featherweight division. They may be developing talent.
They're doing very well.
And we'll see. Invicta's got featherweight.
Invicta, I think, needs to
it's a possibility, but Demetrius Johnson went over to 1. They don't have a 125 pound division.
135. Yeah.
Yeah. The 125 is just so small for a men's body that I don't have an issue saying no. You need bulk up, put on 10 more pounds, get better, and fight at 135. I don't have an issue with that.
No.
I understand what you're saying about great fights happening at 125. It does. It has happened. Some of the stuff we've seen Demetrius Johnson do at 125 is incredibly impressive. Some of the fights that have happened have been fun to watch. Why couldn't those fights be fun to watch at 135? I don't have a problem. 135. It's not like 135 is a stacked division. There's good fighters at the top, but if there's good fighters at 125. You're fighting. You can. I'd like to hope that you could make it at 135. I mean, obviously, there's going to be some weights that are better for people.
Sure.
125 is going to be a better weight for someone than 135, but life's not fair. And like I said, there's just not enough interest in 125 that I'd be fine scrapping it. Just surprised at the timing.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that because that's something that. I don't think enough people talk about that division instead of just saying, it's boring or it's not doing anything that now DJ's gone.
You don't see the big knockout power that you see.
Well, no, and I mean, your opinion of that is something that a lot of people don't think about. So that's great to hear. Nice.
So continuing on that storyline.
Yeah.
The flyweight division, we're moving into the June 8th card, which to me right now, after they pulled Junior Dos Santos from the July card, 239, the International Fight Week card.
Yeah.
I was really looking forward to Francis and Junior Dos Santos.
Yeah, same.
That fight has been pulled from that main event, or from that pay-per-view to main event another card. And I think that now this 238 card is looking like the strongest card of the year.
I love it.
I don't know, at least 10 fights with ranked fighters. Only ranked fighters. Ranked fighters against ranked fighters. We have Aljamain Sterling and Pedro Munoz is not even headlining the prelim card. That's the co-main event of the prelim card. This is an insane card headlined by Henry Cejudo and Marlon Moraes. We have the champion of the flyweight division against the number one contender in the bantamweight division. Sign me up. Where do we go? I mean, what do you think's happening?
I think a lot of new names and a lot of new people we're going to be talking about after this weekend that we go, oh my God, I can't believe that happened, or hey, told you. There's going to be a lot of that.
Surprised,
I'm not surprised. Yeah, I think, you got the flyweight, like you said, in the women's with Shevchenko. You obviously have Henry and Moraes.
Let's start there.
Yeah,
Henry and Moraes. Let's start there.
Let's break it down from the top.
Henry Cejudo, Marlon Moraes. Personally, I think Marlon Moraes is just an edge ahead of Henry Cejudo in this. I think he's more violent. From what I've seen, he has no weakness in his game. I've only watched him in the UFC, and I did not watch his first fight. His loss was Rafael Assunção. I saw his most recent victory against Assunção. But the fights that I've watched have been, it's not fair. He's next level against his opponents, and his opponents have been top-level guys in the UFC.
He's a step ahead when you are already in a division that's so fast, and that's scary to say. Like Henry Cejudo, the things he did with DJ, whether you agree with the decision or not, he jumped up 5 years in levels fighting DJ. Moraes, I think, was already at that level, but obviously there was never going to be a flyweight mixed with a bantamweight at that time. And now seeing this, you're going to see, I think, in my mind, and I agree with you, Moraes is going to clean it up. I think you're going to see the tenacity and the violence of a guy in a division that tries to be just fast and very technical. After watching the head kick that he did to Jimmy Rivera, I think that gave me enough to know that this guy is a different breed in that division. And it looks like somebody is going to put their bet in on this.
Yeah, I'll take Marlon Moraes as one of my bets for this week.
It's a wonderful bet.
He is a favorite. He's a minus 135 favorite. But as far as what I'm looking at on this card, he is just something I want to have an extra reason to root for. Maybe that's the reason. But,
no, I like that.
This fight I'm very excited for, and putting something else on the line for is going to make it even more fun for me.
That's awesome. Yep. And I think this is a great card, again, like we talked about promotionally, as far as it's something new for fans. weight class versus weight class that already happened.
People love to see the
Let's do
super
it again.
fights.
Let's do another super fight, because at the end of the day, the more people that pay attention, the more exposure.
TJ came down
Yeah.
to fight Henry at 125. Now Henry's coming up to fight Marlon at 135.
Yep.
This is a big one. This is a big one. Co-main event, another championship fight. Valentina Shevchenko and Jessica Ai. Valentina Shevchenko is a monstrous favorite at minus 1,400 on this fight. Hell, maybe I'll bet on Jessica Ai.
Yeah. I might bet on Jessica Ai, not tell anybody, man, because that's a hell of a payday.
Because that should happen. I mean, we just saw Anthony Joshua lose this weekend. He was even a bigger favorite.
Yeah, put $100 on
Ruiz was
Jessica.
like a plus 1,100.
Yes.
So crazy odds.
But that's the problem again with that weight division is you're 3 down to 15, all knockout comparable fights. You jump right up, and you got between Valentina and Jessica Ai, it's another breed.
This is champion versus number one contender, and it's that big of a favorite.
It's that big a difference, and that's what's scary but exciting because guess what? Next month, new name. I'm in line. Next month, new name in line. There is so many girls that are sick and tired of cutting to straw, and there's girls that go, oh, there's a flyweight division. Yeah, I'll get into that. And the Bulldog of Valentino, she is the fucking John Jones of that division. And guess what? I'd love to see every fight.
Right. It's a new division. She tried her luck up a little bit heavier and couldn't hang with Amanda Nunes, but she went the distance with Amanda Nunes. Hell, Chris Cyborg couldn't get out of the first round with Amanda Nunes.
Does that not speak volumes?
Yeah. And the flyweight division is not stacked like the strawweight division is right now. The strawweight division is deep. I have not seen anything that would lead me to believe Valentina is going to lose this fight.
Yeah, I agree.
So we are both picking Valentina Shevchenko to win this fight.
Yep. With a sub, too. I don't think she's going to finish it on the feet. I think she's going to put her in a vulnerable spot and choke her out.
So I got a joke for you.
Okay.
Tony Ferguson and Don Cerrone are fighting each other, and it's not a main event or a co-main event in the UFC.
Ha ha.
What?
Are you shitting me?
That's how strong this card is.
Well, we talked about it a week ago. Why in the world did they turn around and make this fight so quick?
I don't know why they rushed it.
238.
But great.
I'm not mad at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's included? Cool.
Yeah. So this is going to be the Coco main event. I mean, this is the fight everyone wants to see, but it's going to be 3 fights left on the card when it happens. Tony Ferguson is a favorite. Don Cerrone's coming in at a plus 140 right now as the underdog. You can't count him out though. He's still Cowboy, and I'll tell you what, the fight's going to be entertaining because I've never seen a fight with either of these guys that hasn't been great to watch.
People have talked about so long wanting to see Ferguson versus Cerrone, even when they're out of the different weight classes.
Yeah, in different weight classes.
When he was welterweight.
Come back to lightweight so we can see this fight.
You have such a weird fighter mixing with a guy that doesn't give a fuck. What else would you want? That's just all I want. I got Cowboy that obviously you know that I love to follow. The Alaquinta fight showed.
That's about as good as I've seen him fight. Maybe ever. To be honest, like he lit up Al.
Having a child and starting a new type of life, and I think having that near-death experience with the diving, if anybody doesn't know, go and listen to Joe Rogan with Donald Cerrone when he talked about almost dying in a cave scuba diving. He has changed, and he has changed in nothing but positivity because he is fighting like a younger Donald. He is fighting different. He is taking shots too. He is not out there doing things that people don't know or doing stuff that's just being very, on the cage, being safe. And then you have Togi Ferguson that has every weird style ever. And then let's mix them together. It's the best cocktail ever that I'm going to see.
No, this is the fight of
Are you going to bet on this?
For me. No, it's not a fight I want to bet on.
I know it's too much up in the air.
I am picking Tony Ferguson to win.
Yep.
I'd be surprised if he loses. But less now that he's had this time off. I guess it hasn't been that long.
It'll be interesting.
He fought Anthony Pettis. Pettis hasn't fought. He has fought since then.
Yeah.
McGregor fought on that card in Khabib. They hadn't fought since then. It hasn't been that long of a layoff. He did have some shit go down in his personal life. You're kind of wondering.
It'll be interesting
where
to
he
see
is
that.
mentally. That's my biggest concern with him. Is mentally where he's at. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised with either of these guys winning. I guess I'd be a little bit surprised with Cerrone winning just because he hasn't. Tony Ferguson doesn't lose. He has not been. He has not lost. And if Cowboy can do it,
pull yourself back and realize though, Kevin Lee almost beat Ferguson at the point. He was looking very good and very sharp and did some things to Ferguson. The thing about Ferguson is...
man, I don't know.
No.
I thought that fight Tony had covered.
Well, there was a lot of shots in a lot of vulnerable situations, and I also think, too, Tony's one of those that can recover well. You can crack Tony like Venado did, and he comes back, and then he puts you in a Darce choke. He puts you in a vulnerable position that finishes you. Tony loves getting a knockout, but he knows it's easier to make you pay and then sub you. Cerrone's different. Cerrone wants to cause pain. He wants to wear you down. He wants to wait till you are not expecting that shot. That's what intrigues me about this fight is both guys have a mission, but you have no fucking idea how they're going to get to that end-all goal. And that's what I love. So...
Fuck it, dude. I'm changing my bet. I'm betting on Tony Ferguson.
Oh, wow. First time ever on the open cut. We are now on the cut. He's changed his bet. All right.
I'm getting more and more. Yeah.
I like it. Well, and here's the deal. That's basically even money. That's a monster
that's far
fight.
from even money.
Well, to me, with these guys, that's a coin flip.
It's not I mean, to me, maybe in my head, it's a pick 'em fight.
It's a pick 'em fight.
But the odds at minus 170, it's not even money. But the more I'm thinking about it,
I like your two bets. You're going with two guys that have very much flown under the radar of being monsters, but not been publicized as
but they are not monsters.
You know what I'm saying? Is Tony Ferguson from...
People who know Tony Ferguson or Marlon Moraes know they're monsters.
From tough on, both these guys have been nightmares for everybody. Now, let's change the pace, and let's go to two guys that a lot of people kind of knew about, didn't, different weight class. Or, I'm sorry, different weight class. Jimmy Rivera, Peter Yan.
Well, Peter Yan is not. People don't know about him.
Yeah,
people don't know about him. I'm picking Peter Yan in this fight. I think that he's been on an impressive tear lately. Jimmy Rivera's kind of going the other way, where he was the top of the bantamweight division. Now he's coming out some hard times. I like Jan's attitude. I think that he's ready to rock. And I am picking him to knock out Jimmy Rivera.
I like that. This is my bet, and I'll tell you why it's my bet with Jimmy Rivera is because what I looked at today when I saw this lined up, I was like, this is definitely a fight that I don't like for Jimmy. But then I looked at Jimmy's background. Jimmy has a loss decision to Aljamain Sterling. He has a win against John Dobson. He has a loss TKO against Marlon Moraes, who was getting ready to fight Hinder Cejudo. Thomas Almeida, who was a scary guy in that division, and then Uriah Faber, who he now is coached by. Everybody he fought has been a monster name, a preem peak fighter. I don't think Peter Yan has gotten that mentality or speed yet. I think this is a time that Jimmy gets to show, had some fucked up fights, got head kicked by Moraes. Then I lost Aljamain, who's getting ready to fight and probably fight one of them after the Pedro fight. I think this is Jimmy's redemption fight. I think he comes out. I think he gets a TKO. He might even get a leg kick TKO.
I honestly wouldn't hate seeing Jimmy get back on the winning streak.
I love watching him fight. I really do. And I think that that's a guy that he climbed the ladder like a lot of guys, just like Cody. Doesn't mean he can't turn it around overnight. So this is my bet. I'm betting him. I got a little bit of nice flavor, a little 260 on the plus here, so I can make a little bank on it. So let's have some
plus
fun.
260.
Yep.
Yeah, there's part of me that thinks that Yan has seen something that he knows that he can exploit, because I know as soon as he had his last fight, he was calling out Jimmy Rivera. He thought that was the fight.
Might be easy
thought that
fight
was
for him.
That was a good fight for him, and I believe him.
It's going to help his stock no matter what. You got a ranked guy, against a guy that's a little bit more ranked. That doesn't mean shit. So I think if he beats Rivera, no matter what his record, Yan is exactly what we've been talking about. Climb the ranks.
We got a ranked heavyweight fight coming up.
Yeah, buddy.
We got Tai Tuivasa against Blagoy Ivanov. Blagoy is coming off of that victory against Ben Rothwell. We both got Bam Bam in this fight.
Yeah.
We think he's going to finish it.
I just want to see him dance.
It's been a while since I've seen the dance.
I want to see the belly dance. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I want him to have fun again. He was having a lot of fun. And I think after the Dos Santos
I was having fun watching him
knockout-
have fun.
Well, the Dos Santos knockout was a reality check, like anybody. And I think the fun thing is now is he can come out with carelessness and just get back to the way they used to fight. So, yeah, both of us got him with a TKO. I believe it's going to happen.
And both of us have Tatiana Suarez, who's also a huge favorite on this card over Nina Ansaroff.
I love her.
So, yeah, like we said, we think this is the next contender for the strawweight division.
Yep.
We'll see with what Rose has going on. I know Jessica Andrade had said that
She wants a
she was going to offer Rose a rematch in Denver.
I don't think
and
Rose
I don't have a
will
problem
take
with
it.
that happening, but yeah, at the same time, I could see the winner of this having the next title shot before
I was
that
just going to
happens.
say, in a perfect world, Rose takes a seat, Tatiana goes in, says, let me take a crack at it.
And another women's strawweight fight, we have Karolina Kowalkiewicz and Alexa Grasso. We both got Kowalkiewicz by decision on that one.
I had a problem picking this.
Yeah?
Honestly, the reason I did is because after Carolina's knockout from Andrade, which was an absolute just see you next week, I was worried, is she going to be able to come back and do what she did? And she beat Watterson, which was a great win. And I think now, Alexia Grasso has not had the greatest record. She's been a great name. She's very talented. They're both basically the same ranking. I want to see if Carolina can continue.
I don't think Carolina just got knocked out by Michelle Watterson. Or no, she lost, but didn't she?
I don't believe so.
Yeah. I think Michelle Watterson just beat her, and that's why Michelle Watterson...
Did she beat her by decision?
Yeah,
on
it was a
sorry.
decision victory.
I knew that Andrade knocked her out. Okay, so that makes
Andrade
sense.
knocked her out,
Yes.
and then she lost by decision to Michelle Watterson.
Okay, I apologize. So, yeah.
And Michelle Watterson looked good in that fight.
Well, Michelle's been looking very good. So, I think with 2 losses back-to-back coming into another ranked fighter, still a top-tier fighter, this is a big make or break it for Carolina if she wants to stay in the division and be active. And again, another young girl, everybody knows her name. And you got to remember, this strawweight division was so small at one point.
It's definitely the deepest division in women's
now it just
UFC.
exploded.
Yeah,
so
by far the deepest.
a girl in this could lose 4 in a row and then win 3 in a row and be right back in contention. So that's what I kind of like about this. But yeah, I just want to bring that up as I had a tough time with Carolina, and I apologize about messing that up with Watterson, but there is so much movement in that division that it's very intriguing.
The co-main event of the prelims, which we had spoken about, is Aljamain Sterling and Pedro Munoz. This is a huge fight. I think the winner of this is the next bantamweight contender.
Yeah.
This is the fight I was planning on betting on. I was going to take Aljamain Sterling as a minus 140 favorite. But there's that image of him getting knocked unconscious by Marlon Moraes, and I'm kind of thinking Pedro Munoz might do that to him.
Damn it, man. I was trying to keep it so straight. We were all going to bet Bantams today. I was so excited. So my bet is Pedro because he knocked out my boy Cody, and anybody that can finish Cody after a 3-round fight like that and say, hey, you know how to box, so do I. I want to see Aljamain go limp again. Because
it was a strong limp.
When I saw it was a stiff limp. When I saw, and Moraes is just another caliber, but when he flatlined him with that knee because of the just bad timing, I think Pedro, man, has the momentum right now to go in and say, Aljamain, you got the gold chains, you got the afro, it's all cool. I still like to bang out, bro. And that's what he showed Cody. So this is my second bet. Keeping it in the bantamweight division, I am going with Pedro Munoz, TKO in the second, or winning in general.
I think I called this fight after Pedro won
you
his
did.
fight.
100%. You called this very early.
But yeah, I think Pedro's got that knockout power. I think Aljamain is just all around a better fighter.
Oh, it's very crisp.
But as we started breaking down this card, and I just kept on seeing Aljamain go limp and fall over in my head. And
That's all you can picture.
And then we started talking about Tony Ferguson. I was like,
I'm out. That's great.
Aljamain's still my pick,
nice,
but I'm putting my money behind someone else. Yes.
That's cool. Another fun fight right behind it.
Ricardo Lamas and Calvin Kattar. So Calvin Kattar just back into the rankings for featherweight. He's been in and out, in and out, in and out. I got Ricardo Lamas winning. You got Calvin Kattar winning. We both think it's going to go the distance. And then another women's flyweight fight. Caitlin Chukagian and Joanne Calderwood. Calderwood's been doing this for so long.
I love Calderwood.
Staple of women's UFC at this point. She
started on Tough with Rose. She was on Tough with Rose.
Okay.
And the thing about her that I've liked is she has found her weight class. She was at strawweight when that was the only option. She was cut up, looking great. She is so calm, so tactical, and I think right now a win over Chukagian, which has been a staple in the name too. She's been around a long time. Calderwood, I think, is going to be a name that we can talk about here in about 2 and 3 months, going after Shevchenko, apparently in the flyweight division, just because she's next in line. But that's the cool thing, is these girls are coming out of nowhere doing great records. I beat 2 or 3 girls in a row. I'm fighting. That's the nice thing with the women's divisions. They can jump right into a big fight real quick. The men sometimes, like featherweight or
There's
bantam,
a long ladder to get up there.
Yeah, you could win 7 fights and go, well, shit, I'm fighting a top 5 guy. Here you win 2 or 3, you're fighting a top 5 real quick.
This one is a pick'em. They're both minus 115. Yeah. There is no favorite in this fight.
Nope.
We're split. I got Chukagian. Dave's got Calderwood. But
I just love the Scottish accent. That's what it is.
As far as fight cards go, this is number 2, number 6 flyweight in the women's division. This is so far down on the prelim card.
And look
it's crazy.
And look at everything in front of it, like you said, is everything in front of it could change waves in what we normally talk about, or in every division in general.
There's 3 huge fights in the bantamweight division. The lightweight division fight is going to determine the number 1 contender. There's a champion fight in the women's flyweight division. Yeah. We've got a ranked heavyweight matchup. Two more big fights in the women's strawweight division are probably going to determine the next contender. I mean, this is a monstrous card in Chicago coming up this weekend. And a couple weeks ago, we talked about what we're most excited for coming up.
I
said 239, but at this point,
no, it's this.
238 is looking like a better card top to bottom.
This card will change all the other cards just on the precedent of what happened. Because there is people that are fighting in those cards that go, fuck, I got to do this, or this is going to happen, or if I win this, I'm up against this next. There is what we always talk about. The changing momentum in the UFC right now is not about making cool fights. It's about making sense fights. And that's what's happening right now.
And they're doing a better job of it.
And they're doing a terrific job of it. And I would never want that job. But all I can say is keep building cards like 238. I'll be burning your pay-per-view account up, brother.
I'll be buying them. All right, so that's that. We'll get back with you after that fight card. I think the next UFC event is going to headline Korean Zombie and Renato Moicano. So we'll definitely try and catch up with you before that.
That'll be terrible.
And break down all the aftermath from the Chicago card. So
sounds wonderful, man.
Yep.
Good seeing you.
That was the cut.
Yep.